Welcome back to Brian Knows Movies. Let's talk about Avatar, The Way of Water. We've been waiting on this film for over a decade, 13 years in the making. Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, and Stephen Lang are back. They're joined by Kate Winslet and a slew of great young actors to give us this film. So what's it about? I believe that about 15 to 17 years have passed since the original events of Avatar. And the reason I'm saying this is because Jake and Neytiri have a family. Jake, of course, played by Sam Worthington, and Neytiri, played by Zoe Saldana. They have started a family, and they have 4 kids. They have 2 sons, Neteyam and Loak. They have a very young daughter named Took. And they also have an adopted daughter, Kiri, who was the daughter of Grace, Dr. Grace from the first films, played by Sigourney Weaver. Her avatar in stasis had a baby somehow. The reason I think it's been 15 to 17 years is because there's also a young human boy that also lives there. His name is Spider, and he has to be at least 17 years old. He's the son of Colonel Quaritch, the evil colonel from the first film. And so I don't know how the Navi aged, but the human boy seems like he's about 17 years old. So anyway, they're living in peace and harmony. Everything's going well until, guess what? The humans show back up, and they show back up in full force. They were able to build a base within a year that is huge, larger than the original one that they had on the planet, and they're trying to colonize and get resources once again. So Jake, who's now the leader, the tribal leader of the Forest Navi, he's basically leading these raids and trying to destabilize these colonizing humans that are on the planet. Well, the humans actually had a plan for Jake. They created Navi avatars for the old colonel and a bunch of Marines to come down and take out Jake. Jake gets freaked out. He realizes that he needs to leave in order to protect the forest people and to protect his family. So he basically gives up his throne, and he is now on the run. He's a refugee. They travel for leagues and leagues until they get to the Sea Navi. I'm sorry, I don't remember the tribe's name right now, but the Navi of the sea. They have connections, spiritual, emotional connections to the sea and the sea life, just like the forest people had with the forest, and they have their own traditions and so on and so forth. So they're accepted as refugees by the Sea Navi, and now most of the movie is them learning, now wait for this, the way of water. Cue music roll credits, so on and so forth. Anyway, the colonel and his Navi mercenary guys, they eventually find out where Jake is, and they start to attack the Sea Navi to get at Jake. Of course, you can see this coming because it's time to have another battle. Jake has to help the Sea Navi protect their land as well as protect his family and go to war with the colonel and his forces. I was originally afraid that Avatar, The Way of Water was just going to retread a lot of the ground that Avatar covered. But it's not. It's not a rehash or a retelling. It's a continuation of a story from the first film. Of course, you still have thematic elements and the macro elements of anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, ecological justice, and those types of things. But what gives this movie a little bit more depth is that it's also a family drama. You have Jake trying to navigate a family that he's trying to protect, and he can't connect with his sons. Him and Neytiri are having marital problems because he's making decisions that she doesn't agree with. You have that family dynamic, but you also have a story of immigration and how immigrants should be treated, and of course all the beauty of the sea type of things that are going on too. So it's not a retelling. Big ups for that. They actually gave me some meat on the bones of the film. But, I'm going to also be honest, the dialogue's pretty clunky, especially at the beginning. It's very, I can't think of a more professional word to say, so I'm saying it's cheesy. It's a very cheesy, corny movie. At the beginning, the dialogue between the characters, especially the family members and the Navi, seems to be very corny, and it doesn't feel like real family yet. As well as the general and his mercenaries, they're just a little too gung-ho. They're almost like the bad villains that you would see in a cartoon, as opposed to a fully fleshed out antagonist for a feature film like this. So the beginning of it especially, very clunky. The dialogue's very cheesy. The exposition also in the beginning really starts to wear on you. They have to tell you a lot because a lot of time has passed, but it's not really handled in a way that really resonated with me. But once you get to the Sea Navi and to that tribe of people, and you get to see how Jake's family interacts and engages with this new culture and how they get to learn the sea, that's when the movie really lifts up. It lifts up because of the children as well. You spend a lot of time with these children learning the ins and outs of the sea, as well as them learning things about themselves. They're learning things about relationships and love. I think that all those things are beautiful once you get there. So the movie definitely focuses much more on the children for a great majority majority of the film. And I'm actually glad because Jake is kind of annoying in this movie. And he's written that way. The journey that we're trying to go on with Jake is that he's making decisions based off of emotion and fear. He's operating out of fear through a great majority of this film, even though it doesn't make sense. He's the brave leader of the Navi. Why is he acting in a rational manner? I don't understand why he thought that the humans would just leave the Forest Navi alone because he leaves. They're not there for you. They're there for the resources. Remember, the whole movie was them trying to get this unobtainium that was under the great tree or whatever, and it was going to basically change all of humanity, and they wanted that resource. They're going to keep coming after the Navi, regardless if they kill Jake and his family or not. The war is not going to end. And so it's like, why? You know this because you know how humanity operates, and he makes many of those different decisions throughout the film that are based off of fear and not logic and understanding how that works. That's very irritating, and I think that that's what we're trying to go in terms of his growth, but he had to recede in order to have that growth, which I just didn't connect with. But I did connect with the children, trying to learn the sea, trying to learn each other, and trying to learn how they fit in this world. I think that that was really well done. James Cameron really directs action very well. The action set pieces in this is beautiful. Pretty much the whole film is beautiful. He is very detail oriented. There are a lot of things in terms of the way the fish move and just things that are just like in your periphery on the screen that wasn't really central to the story, but he wanted to make sure that he packed as much detail into this movie as possible, and it definitely comes off. I think that the only other thing that I had issues with the film, though, is that it seems to be a little bit culturally insensitive to me. The Forest Navi are inspired by indigenous peoples. The Sea Navi seem to be inspired by Samoan culture or Maui culture, which is fine. I think that you can tell stories and pay homage to different cultures, especially given the content of this film, but the way that some of the characters act, it sometimes feel like parody. Especially Kate Winslet's character and Zoe Saldana's character, it really kind of seems to kind of go over an edge to me. I don't know if I'm being overly sensitive about that. Let me know in the comment section below. Let's talk about the performances. I know it has to be very hard to do motion capture acting. There is so much that goes on with that in terms of the suits, the green screens that are around you instead of actually having a set to engage with and interact with. You probably have to make a lot of different decisions and choices that you normally wouldn't make. So saying that, I want to give some grace to these actors because this has to be very hard to do. But in saying that, I think that they do enough to keep the story going and to keep you engaged. The children actors, the child actors, and the young actors really hold this down for me in the film. I was not so much a fan of Zoe Saldana or Kate Winslet, and I don't think it's really their acting. The more I kind of debate about it in my head, I think it was just the characters themselves. They just always just seemed to be just like really angry women that were just always hissing all the time. There was no depth to those characters. They were just angry about everything at different levels, but always upset. It's just very weird. Stephen Lang is great as the colonel. I think that he should play a colonel for the rest of his life. Whether it's a good colonel or a bad colonel, he's made for the Marines, it seems like. I wonder if he's actually has a military background or if he's just that good at acting like this. I think that Sam Worthington does okay, but it is really, again, about the child and young actor performances. A lot of them we wouldn't be that familiar with, but I'll tag their IMDb's below. Why are you going to go see this Avatar movie? It's obviously because of the special effects and the visual interpretation of this world, the world building that happens. That's what you're going for. And I think that James Cameron knew what he was doing. He put so much painstaking detail into every corner of this film. It is absolutely gorgeous. I wholeheartedly believe that it's the most gorgeous film I've seen this year. I think that they really took their time with this. I'm hoping that we don't have to wait so long for Avatar 3 because this needs so much painstaking detail, but it really pays off. Go see it in IMAX, maybe a Prime theater if you go to AMC or something like that would be perfect for this film. It definitely belongs on the big screen. Do not wait to go and see it on your home VOD. The action pieces are great. The battles look great. The battle sequences. The creativity amongst these different animals. They look so unique and they're so gorgeous and in their own way. You just never really have seen anything like what they put on film here. Anyway, what's my rating? See it, stream it, or skip it. I'm giving Avatar: The Way of Water a see it. I don't think it's the best film of the year, but I do think it's the best looking film of the year. You know, David Fincher, Quentin Tarantino, they didn't write these films. The script is kind of simple, but it gives you the themes, it gives you the emotion. It's really written for people of all ages, which is nice. I think that it's worth it. I do think that I have some issues with the cultural representation in here, but I need to hear from some somebody who's more informed, specifically on Indigenous and Samoan culture, about how they feel about that before I make any true decisions on that. I think that James Cameron is a master. He was very cocky. He really believed in this film the way he promoted this film. He knew that we were going to go see it. Also, I'll say that the 3-hour runtime, you do feel it. You do feel it. You want to make sure you get something to eat before you go in there and have some popcorn and shove in your face, because you do feel that runtime. Not so much because the movie drags. It's just that there's so much that you're visually trying to digest in this film. You start to get tired. And also, maybe that was the 3D experience talking, but you start to get tired, like you're mentally tired at the end of this film, but in a good way. But anyway, what do I know? I'm just a guy that loves movies. So if you're going to see Avatar: The Way of Water, let me know in the comment section below. I think the whole world is going to see this movie. It's going to do $1 gazillion because we've been waiting for so long for the follow-up to the movie that really changed cinema. Continue to share my videos. Continue to comments. I love engaging with you in the comment section. Thank you so much, and I'll see you at the theaters next week.